Welcome to the Prophecy Club. I've got so much to say today, I don't even know where to start. But essentially, America is in trouble, and I'm going to try to make my point early, and then we're going to talk about it. Okay, so as I've told you, Leslie and I have been invited to go to Malaysia. We're going. And by the way, yes, we ask for your prayer and your fasting support. We also ask you to help with our we estimate about $25,000 in expenses. But that's not the point of the broadcast today. I want to talk about how by the end of June, we could very well be in an economic collapse of the dollar. We could have already seen an earthquake hit America and 94,000 sealed indictments. All of this it's like there's a lake and there's about 5 streams that is filling it up. And it all is heading toward fall of the dollar, a New Madrid earthquake, and the fulfillment of Omar ushers in Palestinian state, catastrophe hits America. For those of you who've been listening for a long time, know that I've been talking about this stuff has been coming, well, all the way back till 2002, and for some of it, 2006 from other parts of it. But it's going to take a while to explain, so let me get started. Okay, first of all, I'm going to read part of this executive order, and I know that it's a little bit of legalese. I know sometimes it's a little difficult to understand, but I'm only going to read part of it because we hear people say an executive order, but you know as well as I do, you do the same thing I do, is we just take the word for it, whatever the news is saying. We don't actually go look up the executive order. In this case, I thought it was important to actually look up the executive order and really find out what sanctions are, because those sanctions may very well be about to sink the dollar, to sink America, which will lead to the fall of America, the Russians attacking America. So in this case, it's really important. So let's start with May 8th, 2019. Headline says, Executive Order on Imposing Sanctions with respect to iron, steel, aluminum, and copper. Now, this is talking about, yes, we already know that President Trump has already put sanctions on Iran's oil, but now he has added it for iron, steel, aluminum, and copper. What does that mean? Let's read. I'm only reading part of it. By the authority vested in me as president, skipping, the National Emergencies Act, skipping more, I, Donald Trump, President of the United States of America, find that it remains the policy of the United States to deny Iran all paths to both a nuclear weapon and intercontinental ballistic missiles, and to counter the totality of Iran's malign influence in the Middle East. What's that saying? It's saying we are going to shut down Iran because they are working toward nuclear weapons. Now, is that a good thing? Yes, it's a good thing. And if it was a righteous nation shutting down an evil Islamic nation, then we might be able to get by with it. But when we are habitation of devils, the hold of every foul spirit, the cage of every unclean and hateful bird, when we are just about ready for judgment ourselves, I don't think God's going to let us get by with it. Now, it's a good thing to do, to be able to stop evil, obviously, but you got to be righteous in order to stop evil. And I don't think we are righteous enough. Let's go on. It is also the policy of the United States to deny the Iranian government revenue, including revenue derived from the export of products from Iran's. Now listen carefully. This is history being made right here. This is it. This is big stuff. This may be some of the biggest stuff in my 25 years of being on radio. Listen carefully. Iran's iron, steel, aluminum, and copper sectors. What's he doing? He has already said that no one that wants to do business with America can buy Iranian oil, which just happens to be about $50 billion, just the major source of income for the entire nation of Iran. So he's basically shutting down Iran. Furthermore, now he is saying no one that wants to do business with America can buy their iron, steel, aluminum, and copper. What's that doing? That is almost totally shutting down Iran. So in my opinion, President Trump is not giving Iran a way out. They're not giving this nation a chance to live unless they want to bend the knee to Donald Trump. Now, do you think they want to do that? Do you think Muslims want to do that? Do you think the jihadists? Look, these are Shiites. Now, your Sunnis, like your Egyptians and your Saudi Arabians, those are, let me explain the difference. This is my neophyte understanding in this. The Shiites are the ones that want to take over the world and kill you right now. Whereas the Sunnis, these are like the ones in Saudi Arabia, they want to kill you when the Mahdi comes on the scene, which they believe will happen in a time of great turmoil. So the Sunnis, like Saudi Arabia, want to kill you when the Mahdi comes on the scene, whereas the Shiites, like Iran, is mostly the Shiites. They want to kill you now. They want jihad now. That's the reason they are the primary source of terrorism on the planet today. Now, if, again, we were a nice Christian nation, probably God would give us the authority to stop them. But with our current sinful nation, see, if you got a lot of sins yourself, you can't do away with sin. That's the reason, that's the whole point of Jesus dying on the cross. He was the only one that's holy, so he's the only one that could die for our sins. He's the only one that can be the righteous judge because he was sinless. Now, let's go back to the executive order. He goes on to say, I hereby order all property and interests in property that are in the United States, that hereafter come within the United States, or that are that hereafter come within the possession or control of any United States person, of the following persons are blocked and may not be transferred, paid, exported, withdrawn, or otherwise dealt in. Meaning, if you are a U.S. citizen, you may not do business with Iran concerning oil, iron, steel, aluminum, and copper. That means that Iran is going to have to bend the knee to Trump, or they're going to have to attack. Now, how are they going to attack? They know with our USS Lincoln, an entire carrier strike group moving to the Persian Gulf, they already saw what happened to Saddam Hussein. They know they can't defeat that. They're not going to try to attack that way. Brothers and sisters, they're going to try to begin to sell oil for gold, just like Shane Warren told us. Let's go on. To be operating in iron, steel, aluminum, copper sector of Iran, to be a person that owns, controls, operates an entity that is part of the iron, steel, aluminum, copper sectors of Iran. For the purchase, acquisition, sale, transport, market of iron, iron products, aluminum products, steel products, copper. In other words, they are totally shutting down Iran. Now, keep that in mind. I think I've read enough. I've got some other parts here highlighted, but I think I made my point there because we've actually got several things. In the next 6 weeks, brothers and sisters, we're looking at the arrest of 94,000 people. Oh, man, did you see Hannity last night? I probably should pull it off, but he had on Mark Meadows, and he said that there are about to be arrests in the next few days. And he started to say, I don't mean weeks, I mean days. But he stopped short. He stopped himself from actually saying that. But he said, within the next few days, you're going to begin to see arrests. Okay, now was he talking about just a few arrests here or there? Or is he talking about a whole lot of arrests? Now, I also need to issue kind of a little correction. In the broadcast for yesterday, I said EAS, I said EAM, but there's a difference between an EAM and an EAS. An EAS is an emergency alert system message, and that is like if there's an incoming message or an incoming missile that can send out an emergency alert system message to every cell phone in an area to let them know that a missile is flying through the air, like what happened with Hawaii. However, and I said that, but I think it was a misunderstanding. It was actually an EAM, an emergency alert message. The EAM was what was sent out, and the EAM goes primarily to military people. It is not an EAS message, and only certain military people, only with certain clearances, can get that. And I've not been in the military, so that's about all I can tell you about it. The next thing that is on the horizon, also, as you know, now again, I'm making these broadcasts in advance because we're going to Malaysia. So by the time you hear this, you'll probably already know a lot of whether this has come to pass or not. You got to watch for this, and you got to pray against it. So what happens, and now I'm making this Thursday, dated 5/9. It's 12:33 p.m. when I'm making this broadcast. And right now, we are told by midnight tomorrow night, Friday night, that the U.S. is going to raise tariffs on Chinese imports from 10% up to 25% on $200 billion worth of Chinese goods. And there's about to be like a big trade war because China says we're going to retaliate. And all of this is putting pressure on China to try to be a good guy, just like Trump is trying to get Iran to be a good guy. But there are some people in the world that don't want to be good guys, and Iran is one of them. And probably to a certain degree, the Chinese are another one, and the Russians absolutely are one that does not want to be a good guy. So you have to have a lot of righteousness to be able to point the finger at someone else, and I just don't think our righteousness is high enough to do that. Now, with that in mind, let me get to another point, and I don't even know if I'll get through all of these today. Here's another thing. So we know that the exemptions on oil purchases from Iran just expired. So now we know that no one who wants to do business with America can now purchase any Iranian oil. They're also about to shut off the iron, steel, aluminum, copper from Iran. So they're about to shut down Iran. Then we also know that we are in the process of counting the days of the Omer. The counting of the Omer is from first fruits to Pentecost, and the last day of the counting of the Omer is June 9th. We also know that the Trump Middle East peace plan, and that's about the next thing I'm about to talk about, is reportedly going to be released after the Ramadan, the Muslim month of prayer and fasting. And Ramadan, that would mean that he would release the Trump peace plan on or about June 5th if he does what he says he's going to do, and there's not another delay. We also look at what has happened in the past to America when they've gone against Israel, and normally within 24 hours when we hit Israel, God hits us. Now, what's that saying? That's saying that we have turned the Chinese against us. The Russians are already against us. We've got 10 nations, according to the prophecy, that are about to start selling oil for gold, meaning that they're going to go around the dollar. That could tank the dollar. Also, the Middle East peace plan could come out June 5th. The next day, we could be hit with a New Madrid earthquake, just like was shown Shane Warren. And by June 9th, we could see the newspaper headline that says, Omer ushers in Palestinian state. These are the things to watch over the next, 5 or 6 weeks, brothers and sisters. You got to watch these. And when that newspaper headline appears, Omer ushers in Palestinian state, it's probably going to be a short fall down to the Russians attacking. Now, Shane Warren said that America's judgment arrives in 2020. I don't know if it does. Also, Terry Bennett said he was told by the angel Gabriel that America falls in 2021. I don't know if it does, but I can see that we are getting closer to that. Now, my heart is not to see America fall. That's the reason I'm asking you, if you want to see America continue, you want to seriously consider joining our fast track team so that your prayers count for more. Now, let's get on to the Middle East peace plan. As I have said, there has some people been saying that it has been leaked or leaked in part, and that some people have rumored that the Trump Middle East peace plan is going to split Jerusalem or split Israel. And as I've also said, according to my research, I found 6 people saw a large meteor hit near Puerto Rico. 4 people saw that a tsunami hit the east coast of the United States. 6 people saw America split into 2 pieces. 3 people saw chunks of California fall into the ocean. Here's the point. And 9 people, now I think the count is actually up to 12, that saw that America was split because we split Israel. My point is, brothers and sisters, America may be, in the eyes of God, splitting Israel on June 5th. That's during the counting of the Omer. We could very well see a newspaper headline that says Omer ushers in Palestinian state, followed by the newspaper headline that says catastrophe hits America, because if God does, let me back up. If God considers Trump's Middle East peace plan, whatever it says, we're about to read it, if he, in the eyes of God, if he considers this splitting Jerusalem, then, and if God does what he has done in the past with no delay, that would mean the very next day we would see the New Madrid earthquake. And that just happens to be exactly what Shane Warren was shown in his vision. In a time when the dollar was worthless, all of a sudden the New Madrid earthquake hit, and it started over oil for gold. oil for gold. Now, let's go on to what I just got. This is dated Wednesday, 5/8/2019 from ZeroHedge.com. Headline: Israeli newspaper leaks terms of Trump's deal of the century, Middle East peace plan. Now, it starts off saying that, and probably what this is probably a trial balloon. It probably really is the peace plan, or at least parts of the peace plan, and they're floating this trial balloon. Now, a trial balloon is something that's leaked to the press, and they want to see just how many people get upset over the points of it. And if not too many people get upset over that point, fine, leave that point in. That's good. If too many people get upset over this point, or if there's, big problem, big complaints, then they know, okay, we're not going to get by with that, so we're not going to put that in the plan. That's probably what is going on here. So probably this is a leaked early version of the plan. Now, does not necessarily mean that this is the way the plan is going to look like when it's actually released. Matter of fact, probably there will be some points changed. But that's not our concern. Our concern in this peace plan is not all the details. As prophecy students that know that America is in a very good position to fall here very soon, we want to know one thing. Does it or doesn't it not split Israel, specifically Jerusalem? Does it split Israel or Jerusalem? Either one of those. If it splits Israel, America's in trouble. If it splits Jerusalem, America's in trouble, because here's the way God looks at it. This is his land, not the Palestinians' land, not the land of the Jews. And he does not want his land split. You split his land, God's going to split your land, period. End of story. That's the way it is. So as I go through this, I want you to ask yourself one question. In the eyes of God, not my opinion, not your opinion, in the eyes of God, will he consider this if it is released in this plan? If this is in fact on, about, or close to what's going to be released, in the eyes of God, will he consider this the split of Israel or the split of Jerusalem? Will he consider this given the Palestinians a state? Let's go on. The main points of the U.S. President Donald Trump's much derided plan for the Middle East, the article says, the so-called deal of the century, were leaked by a Hebrew language news outlet in Israel yesterday. Israel Yahom published the main points of the deal from a leaked document circulated by the Israeli Foreign Ministry. The U.S. has said it will reveal its deal after the Muslim month of fasting comes to an end in early June. That would be June 5th. The main points of the agreement, put together by Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, who has extensive interest in Israel and its settlements, and proposed by the U.S. administration, are as follows. Now, remember, and it is rumored that Trump has not seen this proposal, but whatever Jared Kushner comes up with, he will sign. That's the rumor. Again, we don't know exactly, but we don't have to know everything exactly. We only have to know if it's going to be, in the eyes of God, splitting God's land, period. Let's go on. The tripart agreement, meaning there's three parts to the agreement, the tripart agreement will be signed between Israel, the PLO, and Hamas, and a Palestinian state will be established. Did you hear that? Let me read that again. The tripart agreement will be signed between Israel, the PLO, and Hamas, and a Palestinian state will be established. Hang on. Let's back up. Remember, I've been telling you since April 15, 2002, that God spoke to my wife Leslie in the night and said that Arafat would go into the hospital, Israel will give the Palestinians a state, the Palestinian state would be a temporary measure to allow the Israelis time to strengthen the military, then oil will be discovered in Israel, the oil will make the Jews willing to fight for the land, and Israel and America will go against most of the rest of the Arab world. I've been saying this. Brothers and sisters, it may be about to arrive. Then, January 22 of 06, she heard the audible voice of God say, and these are 7 signs to the fall of America. I will quickly read them. I've read them so many times. Omer ushers in Palestinian state. That's probably from the counting of the Omer, based upon what we see here. Omer ushers in Palestinian state. Catastrophe hits America. one of America's greatest times of need. Israel refuses help to America. Israel is attacked. America sends troops. Chaos reigns as Americans protest help to Israel. Then she heard my voice quoting Dimitri Dudman, the fall of America will start with an internal revolution started by the communists. Some of the people start fighting against the government. The government be busy with the internal problems. Then from the oceans, Russia, Cuba, Nicaragua, Central America, Mexico, and 2 other countries will attack and defeat America. Back to the Middle East peace deal. A Palestinian state will be established that will be called New Palestine and will be established in the occupied West Bank and Gaza. Another way to say that is Judea and Samaria and Gaza, all of which is land that belongs to God. That's God's land, not Jews' land. That's not Palestinian land. That's God's land. With the exception of the settlements, Israel would release Palestinian prisoners gradually over the course of 3 years under the deal. Who cares? Our concern is, are they going to split Israel? Are they going to give the Palestinians a state? And so far, it is, if this is accurate, unless they change it, so far it is saying absolutely yes, that's exactly what they're about to do. Going on, the settlement blocks in the occupied West Bank, which are illegal under international law, would form part of Israel. Here it is. These are the words, the giant words to listen to. Jerusalem will not be divided, but it is to be shared by Israel and the New Palestine, with Israel maintaining general control. Okay, so which one you want to believe? You want to believe the first sentence that says a Palestinian state will be established, or do you want to skip down 4 lines? Jerusalem will not be divided, but is shared by Israel and the New Palestinian. Well, let's say, for example, you live in Texas. And let's say, for example, they were to come on and say, well, now, we're not going to call it Texas anymore. We're going to call it Texasia, or some stupid name. But it's going to be shared between the United States and Mexico. Would you call that splitting Texas? Because I would. If you look at what they're really saying here, this, my friends, is exactly what I've been warning you about, exactly what we've been watching this in the prophecies now for a long time, and here it is. It's about to bite us, and it's got to bite us hard. Let's go on. Palestinians living in Jerusalem would be citizens of the Palestinian state. Did you hear that? Of the Palestinian state, meaning Israel, if they sign this, is given the Palestinians a state. But Israel would remain in charge of the municipality and therefore the land. The newly formed Palestinian state, that's the 3rd time they said that, would pay taxes to the Israeli municipality in order to be in charge of education in the city of Palestinians. The status quo of the holy sites will remain, and the Jewish Israelis will not be allowed to buy Palestinian houses and vice versa. Egypt will offer the new Palestinian state land to build an airport, blah, blah, blah. A highway would be built to connect the Gaza Strip to the West Bank, 30 meters above Israel. Funding for the project would come from 50% from China and then 50% split equally from South Korea, Australia, Canada, U.S., and EU. There's a certain sting, kind of like a carrot and a stick, okay? Carrot is your good part, and the stick is if you don't do it. Here's the stick. If Hamas and Shays object to this agreement, the U.S. will cancel all of their financial support to the Palestinians and assure that no country in the world transfers money to or from them. If the PLO agrees to the terms of this agreement, and Hamas or Islamic Jihad do not agree, the leaders of Hamas and Islamic Jihad will be held responsible, and in another round of violence between Israel and Hamas, the U.S. will back Israel to personally harm Hamas and Islamic Jihad leaders. It is inconceivable that a group of a few dozen will determine the lives of millions of people. If Israel objects to this agreement, economic support for Israel will cease, meaning that if the 3 parties don't go along with it, there's going to be some severe repercussions. Now, one of the headlines says that Israel refuses to help America. Could that be that Israel refuses to help America when the New Madrid earthquake has hit, when our dollar is falling and we're in a lot of trouble because we forced them to give away part of their land because America did something real bad to Israel? Probably. Okay, so let me summarize this. I want you to try to get this picture. According to Q, the 94,000 sealed indictments are supposed to be rounded up sometime in May. I didn't say that. That's what Q posted on May 2nd. You can go check it out. Then, according to Hal Turner, there was an emergency action message saying that the carrier group, and this is everything you'd say is it sounds like it's very close to a prelude to war, specifically with Iran. So all of a sudden, America is just about to go to war with Iran. Then we're also raising tariffs from 10% to 25% on the Chinese. So the Chinese are not happy with us. Iran, Russia, and the other 9 nations that are probably in the process of selling oil for gold and buying gold with oil, back and forth, gold for oil for gold, are probably in the process of getting that all set up. The exemptions from oil have expired, and now President Trump is stopping them from buying the aluminum and the other things that I talked about. But we're also in the process of counting of the Omer. Trump is about to release his Middle East peace plan, according to not only one but 2 different sources. It is probably, in the eyes of God, splitting Israel. It is specifically several times saying that they are giving the Palestinians a state. And according to past history, when we do something against Israel, God hits us within 24 hours. I have 12 people that said that America was split because she split Israel. And brothers and sisters, it appears that in the month of May, we're about to get into financial trouble with our dollar. We're about to go into some kind of a war with Iran and a financial war with the Chinese. If Iran and the other 9 nations start selling oil for gold, all of a sudden our dollar could be in the process of collapsing in the middle of June. Then Trump comes out with his Middle East peace plan. He splits Jerusalem. We get hit with a new Madrid earthquake, and the new Madrid fault is split. Possibly the Great Lakes opening up. Who knows how bad and how far down, maybe all the way to the Gulf of Mexico. And the newspaper headline appears, Omer ushers in Palestinian state. Then the next one, catastrophe hits America, follows. The third one is one of America's greatest times of need. And then Israel refuses help to America. And brothers and sisters, it may very well be. I'm not trying to set a date. I'm trying to say that maybe 2020 or 2021, like these other 2 brothers have said, maybe they're right. I'm saying that America, it appears, could be running out of time. In my opinion, we see all of these. We see problems on the southern border. We got 94,000 sealed indictments. 94,000 American leaders are about to be arrested. We're about to go to war with Iran, with Venezuela. We're about to be in a tariff war with the Chinese. The counting of the Omer is coming up. Trump splits Jerusalem. All of a sudden, we get hit with a new Madrid earthquake. And by the end of June, brothers and sisters, if all of this goes bad, I don't know that it does. We're praying it doesn't. But if all this goes bad, by the end of June, America could be in a world of hurt. Now, as I've said, we're going to Malaysia. We have already charged $20,000 for the airfare to go, and I believe God wants us to go. He's confirmed that to me and Leslie. And we're asking you to go with us spiritually, and we want you to share in the fruit of our labors. We'd ask you to do your very best to help us with that expense. We're estimating our expense is going to be, I don't know, never done this before, $23,000, $24,000, $25,000, something like that. You know what it's going to cost. But we're going to take Bible prophecy, the gospel. Leslie can talk about the Kundalini spirit. And my understanding is Masih called me last night. He says, we will have you talking to your drop. So apparently he's got us set up with a lot of different places to speak. Anyway, we're asking you to help us with your very best support. You can do that at prophecyclub.com. We have a new way to do it. You can text the word prophecy. Text the word prophecy to 444-999. Follow the prompts. Text the word prophecy to 444-999. Follow the prompts. And you can also do it by calling our office, 785-266-1112. In the meantime, thank you for listening. Thank you for your prayers. And thank you for your gifts of support. God bless.